Okay, I'm going to get started now. Okay, hello. Hope everyone's doing well this morning. I want to welcome you to Karen Ryce's Family Zoom Station. This is episode 6, Homeschooling Today, Solutions. Okay, so welcome to Karen Ryce's Family Zoom Station. During the first part of this 1-hour show, I share tips and strategies that create harmony with kids. Then we open things up for Q&A and discussion. 2 weeks ago, it was suggested that we address the topic of homeschooling, especially since almost every parent is a homeschooling parent these days. It was also suggested that I share ways to ease some of the problems that have come up because of this situation. Last week, I shared a few strategies to reduce the stress and overwhelm you might be experiencing because of the unusual situation of all of you staying home together. What I want to share today is because of one thing that came up during Barda Allen's presentation. That is the concept of trusting kids. Put this to use and feel an enjoyable sense of ease in your life. It turns out that this is an outcome of using the one rule. Here's a short review of the one rule and some supportive elements. Kids have a very important job to do, as important as any job on earth. It's their job to create an adult, the adult they become. One of our jobs is to help them do this and hopefully do an excellent job of it. The one rule helps this happen. It is distilled from over 47 years of focused attention, observation, experimenting, inspiration, and caring. That's why experiencing, understanding, and using the one rule is so important. The one rule helps kids follow their developmental blueprint. Kids are equipped with a developmental blueprint which dictates how to accomplish things like walking, talking, and all that we must conquer as we grow up. This developmental blueprint, with its inner motivation, ensures that a child masters certain abilities. A child must do what their blueprint dictates. Here is the one rule. To raise happy kids and to be happy yourself, make sure that all involved agree with each decision. I know it sounds too simple. It is simple. But this is how I raised my kids once I decided never to force them to do what they did not want to do. This was how I treated the kids I worked with. For short, the one rule equals agreement. And here are beliefs that support the one rule. We are each important. We each deserve to feel good. There is a way to find agreement. You don't have to accept these beliefs to be able to use the one rule, but as you use the one rule, you discover that you are using them, just as you discover that you trust your kids, even if you did not start out trusting them and their decisions. Using the one rule automatically brings about trusting and trustworthiness. Benefits of trust. Trusted children develop into trustworthy children. It is so exciting to trust children and to have them prove that your trust in them was warranted. Perhaps not the first try or even the third, but then how often among humans is the first try the only one needed to achieve competency? As you watch for it and expect to see it, evidence of trustworthy behavior, you see it more and more. Trustworthy kids are a joy. You know they've learned a lot about what's good for them and what's not. Also, since you trust them, they can't help but trust your good judgment and come to you easily when they need help. Steps toward trusting. What if you're afraid to trust your child's judgment? You may have good reasons for this. However, you can move from where you are to where you want to be, trusting them because they've proven themselves trustworthy. You could start with small, safe situations. Discuss this process with them. Tell them you want to be able to trust their decisions. Make sure they agree that this is a good idea. Use the one rule. Now you can both learn what you need to learn. They can learn to be trustworthy and you can learn to trust them. It's good for you both to practice. Keep this going. It might be more effective, though it might be more difficult for you to start with something that means a lot to your child. Discuss it thoroughly. Make sure you both understand how you want it to go. They are likely to make their greatest efforts to be successful if it is something they really want to happen. Eventually, you'll be able to trust them and they'll prove themselves worthy of that trust. Then, even if things don't go as you both intended, you'll both know that they've done their best to be trustworthy and there is no reason to stop trusting them. Here are a couple of stories about situations that taught me some lessons about trusting kids. The first lesson taught me that trusted kids live their truth. I call this the roof jumper. At Children's House, our Montessori preschool, we had a low shed over the tricycles to protect them from the weather. One day, one of the 4 or 5-year-old boys figured out how to climb on the roof and was getting ready to jump off. I rushed over to him to stop him. He told me that he did this at home all the time. I decided to trust him and stood by to be available. He did fine. Other boys came over to join in. This is a picture of the main building at the school, by the way. One tried and decided against it. More than one boy decided not to climb up and jump. A few did it. No one got hurt. They all got to be trusted with something very challenging, and they all got to make the right decision for themselves. In the poison oak lesson, I learned that sometimes trusting is the only choice that makes any kind of sense. One of my assistants at Children's House walked with a small group of kids to take a couple of them to the school bus out on the main road. When they got back, she told me that while she was getting the kids on the bus, one of the little girls had convinced the other kids to pick poison oak leaves and rub themselves with the leaves. The girl told the others that nothing would happen to them. I panicked. I wished that we had a bathtub so they could all be washed, but we didn't. I began washing one child's hands and arms and realized that this was an impossible task. We had a tiny child-sized sink and there were about 6 kids. I decided that if they believed that nothing was going to happen, I would believe that too. I would trust their decision. That's what I did. And nothing came of it. No cases of poison oak. Here's another picture of beginnings. So thanks for being here. I'm glad you're all here. And now it's time for Q&A and discussion.
Karen, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Is there a place where this is actually recorded and you can look over the slides?
Yes.
Or can you put the slides up? I'd like to kind of go back. I had a question, but I wanted to read the slide, but maybe,
Sure.
I don't know.
I could do that. Let's see.
Okay.
Screen share.
Like on the side or something.
Oh, okay. Wait, I know what to do. Then we could see people. All right. Oh, yes. Okay. Uh-oh.
I think it was in the beginning when you said the children deserve.
Wait, I'm going to have to stop this. And we'll try again. Okay. It's going now. I mean, I'm making it go. So just let me know when you're ready for me to stop it.
Oh, we can't see it, Karen.
Oh, you can't? Oh my goodness. No wonder nobody's saying anything. Let's see. Okay. All these technical difficulties. Okay. I'm gonna try to screen share again. Oh wait, I'm wondering if I should.
And then Sarah's picture disappeared.
Okay.
Still
Ah,
there?
okay. All right. Now I'm gonna. Oh, yeah. Sarah, are you there?
Hmm.
Okay. Well, I can share it once she comes back. Um,
So, and then the question was, how do we access the recording?
right. Well, I have uploaded it to YouTube, and I'm going to be getting instructions today about what to do next. So, hi, Sarah.
Hi, sorry about
We,
that.
oh, okay. And I will either message or email all of you
Okay.
about how to do that. So I have, at the moment, I've uploaded last week's. I have one more recording, so I'll do that too. But I wanted to find out all the details of what's involved in that. So, like where to put it, and because it's there already, but I'm just not sure what to do with it now. So that you can access it.
Okay. Well, we would just, I guess, check your name, and then we find it.
Right now you wouldn't. It's uploaded, but it's not in any place that anybody can see it, not even me.
Oh.
So, but I'm going to, well, I'm supposed to be getting instructions today, so I should be able to get to that today. And I will also then be able to do today's, because it's getting recorded also.
Awesome.
So, okay, Sarah, you wanted to check out a slide?
Yeah, it's okay. It was basically just about the point that children deserve to be trusted. And I guess there's always been this kind of default mechanism of adults that feel like they have to um, override any decision from a child. But I
Right.
really like
You froze up. Your sound froze up. Your picture froze too.
Yeah, it's like, of course, the parent thinks of the worst case scenario in any situation, whereas the child is not thinking that way. But
Right.
I did
Well
find with
put.
my 5 boys that, just letting them, make decisions about whether they want to walk on the wall or jump off the roof was, just leave it up to them, and they pretty much had a good sense. And mostly, no one got broken arms or too much. Had a few injuries, but
I
not.
really like that. I've never tried those kind of, my internet is really bad.
Is what? Couldn't hear you, Sarah. You're a little bit fuzzy.
Yeah, yeah, I think her connection is bad somehow, or her internet or something.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, that's what I've found. I realized long ago that we're conditioned, and this is not just here. It's true in India. All the places that I've been, I've noticed this. I was telling someone there was one place I've been that I did not notice this distrusting whatever kids say, that they couldn't really know what they're talking about. That one place was watching the Indians in Oaxaca. They were very smooth and very there was like this easygoing relationship that, I mean, I didn't see that much, but what I did see was remarkable to me.
Yeah, I worked with Native Americans, and I saw that very much, that there was a real trust between the parents and the children. It was quite beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Sera knows, she's part Native.
Ah, wow.
Here, we lost her still.
I know.
Oh, you're going to come back, Sera?
I'm here. I see you.
Ah,
I think I'm up.
good.
Can you see me?
Oh, there you go.
Briefly.
I'm back.
Now
I'm
you
sorry.
your name and your
I'm
voice.
gonna try to get to a different room because the internet where I am is really bad. So I'll be right with you.
Okay.
I apologize. Be right there.
No problem.
Of course, the downside is, years later, I hear all these stories of things that boys did.
Oh, I was losing you a lot last week. You were going in and out.
Yeah, I just was saying that years later, stories of they did this. Good thing I wasn't there.
Uh-huh.
I would have put a stop to it right away.
Sorry, I had to do this Zoom call in here. The internet here.
Sera doesn't realize that she's live with
It's
voice.
interesting.
Right. Yeah.
I liked your slides, my dear.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that last little bit where those kids got into the poison oak leaf,
Yes.
and how you just sort of went, oh, I'm just going to trust that everything's going to be okay. Damn, I don't know if I could have been like that.
When I realized that there was no way I could deal with them in a way that logically would result in, yes, I know that this is taken care of. It was like too big. It was, because I wasn't there. I didn't even see what happened. I just got the report. It was like either that or totally freak out, and I didn't want to totally freak out. So it was like, all right, you got this? Okay, you got this, yeah, this is gonna work. And it did.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because and the thing is, if I had freaked out anyway and told everybody about it, it would have been a big mess. Probably
Yeah.
everybody would have come down with terrible cases of poison oak. And, you know, but then I've thought of this over the years, like, I thought, well, maybe they were using a different leaf. And, but my assistant lived there. She knew what was up. It's not like she would,
Right.
you know, so then I scratched that idea. And, I mean, it could be that all those children weren't allergic to poison oak, but that's not so likely, because a lot of people in that area end up with poison oak. So it's not so likely that that particular group would have ended up that way. I'm not sure what happened, but I do know it turned out well.
Okay.
So that's been my inclination when something is beyond what I can actually make happen, is to trust that it's okay. So
That's quite remarkable.
like now.
Years ago, my father was not allergic to poison ivy. And years ago, on one summer day, he and his friend, who was from England, decided they were going to pull all the poison ivy out of our property. And the friend said, "Oh, I never get poison ivy." Of course, he's from England; they don't have poison ivy. So the following time, that his friend ended up in the hospital.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, they can, things like that can be serious. Poison oak too. I've heard of terrible things happening with people and poison oak.
yep.
Even my son I think, I don't know if he still does, but maybe because he's real careful, but he gets poison oak. And so we had to deal with that. And my ex-husband also. So anyway,
Well,
but this group, it worked out.
powerful mind.
What?
I think
Powerful mind.
That sounds
think-
cool.
I think there is a lot to that powerful mind aspect, because I remember I was in Oregon with my family and visiting an old school friend of my mom's. We were all playing on a rope swing, and we didn't know we were in the middle of a bunch of poison oak, but we were having a great time. And then one of us got symptoms, but then we all started scratching. And it was really funny because I didn't really have any symptoms until I started scratching, because my brother was scratching. So I was like, oh, wow. Is it, you know, so I started scratching, and then we all came out with it. But
Wow.
like even
Interesting.
right now in this pandemic, you know, the first couple of weeks, there was a lot of hypertension, you know, and I had a lot of bronchitis, and I was using my inhaler. And after a while, I had to take a break, and I had to get a lot of rest. And I got over it through actually getting sick. I got a headache with the dizziness and stuff, and I got sick. But then when I got out from being sick, I didn't need any inhaler. I didn't have any bronchitis. I think there's a lot to hypertension. And I think what you did with that situation is boost their belief in, you know, that this is fine, you know, or that they're not going to, of course, medically, you can't really say that's going to happen every time. But I think there's instances, even just the other night, I was at the kitchen sink, and my husband had a really bad case of hiccups. And I was really fighting not to get the hiccups because I knew if I was just going to laugh along with him and he was doing them louder than necessary, kind of like playing it up. I knew I would just get the hiccups. And so I just, shielded myself and, breathed normally. It's like, I am not getting the hiccups no matter how much he's hovering over me, joking around. I'm doing the dishes. He's standing there hiccuping right behind me. He was having fun. We were joking, we were laughing, but I knew I would just start having the hiccups. So, I think there's some little bit of that mind power.
Right. Well, with the children, there was only that one girl that I actually tried to clean up it all. And she was like totally relaxed. I mean, she was like, sure, you want to wash my hands? Fine. You want to do that. Anyway, but I didn't relate to any of the other children at all. So whatever they did was on out of them, however their life unfolded, it was out of them. And yeah, I mean, I guess my opening up to it, to what they had decided, could have been helpful. The opposite of it would definitely not have been helpful. So anyway, it was a pretty interesting situation to be put into.
Right. Now, on your slides, some people would say, well, trust has to be earned. But
well, if you want to go down that route, last night I started writing about the parent being trustworthy, because I didn't bring that up at all. And since the adult is the model for the children to learn, because otherwise we'd all be born speaking whatever we speak and being able to do whatever we do. But since we are not, and we have to learn all this because we could be born into a culture that does things in a certain way, speaks a certain language and whatever. So in that case, the people that are already there, and specifically the family, the adults in the family that the child's born into, they are the models. So if they want trustworthy children, they need to be trustworthy models. Like, if they want their child to always do what the child says they're going to do, then they have to make sure that that is the norm of their behavior, that that they model that's just the way people live. And anyway, so I had started writing about this, but I didn't get all the way into it. I was thinking of maybe doing some more today on that topic.
Yeah, that would be a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
Certainly worthy. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I like what you said. Yeah, how important trust is.
Yeah, and the thing that like the boys jumping off the roof, and there were no girls that came to join this group, that because I'd given them this open field of, and that it only covered tricycles. I mean, it was like, I don't know, I think it was more than 5 feet high, but it wasn't like 7 or 8, or, it was just for tricycles. So, anyway, because I'd opened this up, because I trusted that first boy to be speaking his truth, all the others got that same openness for them to live out their truth, and they, nobody had to try to prove anything to anybody. Just they were just doing what was true for them. And some of them did this, they went over to try and do the climbing onto the top of the roof, but they decided, nah, that's not for me. And so they didn't, and there was no problem with them not doing it, just as there was no problem with those who did want to. So,
Right.
And it worked out well. And I've thought back over all my years of working with children, and there were no serious injuries when I was working there. So, and I'm sure that if there had been, it would, I just thought this right now, it would have stuck in my mind, just as these stories stuck in my mind. So, yeah.
Can I ask another question?
Of course.
About when you're talking about like living out your truth, I mean, there's a lot of stories we have in my family about things we did when we were kids. And it just, I don't want to take a lot of time with the stories and things, because I think behind all of that, what you're mentioning about living out your truth, I feel like there must be something about the creative process and the freedom of expression that kids really need, and we like exactly what the very beginning was, that child's job is to create that adult, to a
Right.
functioning, caring, loving, thinking, adult, so those creative experiences as a child, being allowed that expression and that following your truth, following your gut, your instincts, what is doable, what's not doable. Like you said, maybe the shed you could jump off of, but the roof of the bigger building, no, I'm not going to do that, because
Right.
there's, but then that child inside their own vision, inside their own being, they feel the difference, what they
Right.
understand is safe and what they understand is not safe.
Right. For them.
So, right. So I think that kind of self awareness and trust, like, because I think that they develop a certain trust in their own understanding or own belief, what's the right word? Their own guidance, their own internal guidance.
Yes.
And they can kind of believe in themselves.
Yes.
If they're always being told what's correct and what's not correct, and what's I mean, of course, in some kind of culture, what's acceptable and not acceptable, that's manners, right? That's manners. We can understand that, but there's a difference, and can you explain that kind of difference? Because maybe manners can go a little bit too far. Children should be seen and not heard, or those kinds of stifling things. But at the
I
same
was
time, you
raised
don't
with
want
that.
right. And but I think there's a kind of a balance, because we don't want to be able to, invite company over and people are just running around and crawling under the table when people are trying to eat, and we want some sort of discipline, but in a balanced kind
Self-discipline.
of way. Right. And respect. you know.
Yeah,
It's just,
that's one thing with my Montessori background, because we learn about actually demonstrating manners. For example, we call it social behavior, and the kids really loved that. They really loved practicing these things, these um, little elements of an interaction, which when it goes by so fast, you can miss the parts of it that make it what it is. And I'm not sure if I told this story before about only Leslie would have heard if I did, the story about the children who we did a demonstration on, because we were noticing that people would push each other out of the way a lot. And like if they wanted to go out or come in, they wouldn't do anything with manners in terms of getting where they wanted to go. So we did a demonstration of, excuse me, may I go by? And they loved it. And they, after we finished the demonstration, they took it on and they practiced it over and over, and they took turns being the one to say it, being the person in the way, and until, I mean, it went on and on. I mean, I don't know if it went on half an hour, but let's say at least 15, 20 minutes of over and over and taking turns, and then all of a sudden they were done, like, okay, you know, we got this. And so then that became more what was practiced. And so that gave them, and another time, there was one little boy who, whenever he would see me in the morning, he would just like body slam me. And so I of course would say good morning to him, and I suggested to him that he could just say, you know, good morning. And he was like so happy. He was little and he just hugged me like super tight. And then he did that, and it didn't, you know, the body slamming stopped. So because I mean, this particular child was not taught at home about using words or things like that.
self-control.
Yeah, and definitely the father was not an example of self-control. The mother probably was.
What age were the children generally? An
Um,
average age.
the youngest child that could join was 2.5, and most of the children stayed through like 5, and in first grade they went into Skyfish, which was the elementary program that got developed. And those buildings at the end, that was mostly, it was the Octagon that was is the community center up there now. But it didn't exist when we first moved up there. We were part of that, the creation of that whole thing.
That's kind of what I felt when I was doing the daycare here in Las Vegas in 2016. It was really moving to me how sensitive the 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and 5-year-olds, especially 4-year-olds, I think, to other people's feelings. And then they empathize so like instantly empathize with someone else's feelings. So when you explain about, excuse me, may I go by? They are so excited about it because they're recognizing, "Ah, what I did makes that kid feel like that. And if I do this, it makes them feel different, you know," and
Mm.
they get excited about it. Of course, maybe in a group you have people's attention more because you get to take turns. You know, one-on-one, they get it quick and they're ready to move on. They don't want to hear a long lecture about it.
Right.
You know, it starts making them feel bad.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
I think the older kids, like 6 or 7, they've moved on to things like you know, math or other things that they're so curious about, that the other person's feelings, they kind of get it, but sometimes they're already getting into like competition and fighting and things like that, that it kind of blocks that super empathy that they had when they were younger. Not blocking it, but it's I'm not
Well,
sure. I mean, I'm really interested in this, but I think different levels, the ages, like you're talking about the blueprint of development.
right.
So
Yeah. Yeah, there's different things that automatically pull our focus and our attention. I One couple of things came to mind during this, and that is 2-year-olds are also extremely open to how other people are feeling, and uh, especially like I've noticed over the years that when somebody's unhappy or something like that, a 2-year-old will or a 2-year-old in their life will go over and comfort them, do whatever they could to comfort them. And I gave a workshop to to Skyfish, to their six, they're 6 through let's see, 5th grade, 6th grade, so 6 through 11, 12. Anyway, and one thing that came up was one of the younger boys was talking about having trouble with some of the other kids, and when it was suggested, well, it was asked, like I asked, well, did you ever tell them? And it was like a whole world opened up for him in that moment, because it was like an avenue that he had never pursued and he had never even thought of pursuing. But it seemed to him, yeah, that could take care of it. And other children were agreeing that letting other people know what you need, what you want, what you like, what you don't like, sharing, communicating with other people could make a big difference. So, sometimes, a lot of times I would say that is one of the problems, is that they'd never been specifically offered a skill, and what they saw around them wasn't clear enough in terms of a guidance, like how it's done, that they couldn't take it and use it, because it just was not that clear and specific, like first this, then that.
it wasn't encouraged.
That also, yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. Never, not put out like, here's something you can do about that. And let's practice it. That's even better. So, that's like with a lot of the manners and things, if they get practice, that's even better. Then it's like more a part of them than if somebody just says, you know, don't do this, do that, or don't do this is way more common than do this. Stop that is more common. Then, okay, well, what do I do to get where I want to go and do what I want to do? So.
Well,
Did you still want to see the slides, Sarah?
Did you say everything was going to be on YouTube? I was coming in and out of
Yes,
the internet.
I'm going
Okay.
to put it up. Yeah.
Okay.
Someone's going to show me how to do it today, as far as I know. So,
Okay. That would be wonderful. I did talk a lot this morning with Wendy Herstein, and her daughter-in-law has a degree in preschool education, and
oh,
she
right.
takes care of Sunday school children, Onka and Josh Herstein. So they're interested, but right now Onka's working full-time at a market, and Josh is also, I believe, went back to work. But I think they'd be very happy to see things on YouTube. You
Okay.
know, or of course live if it's on a time when they can fit it in.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, Josh
Okay.
also went to Montessori when he was young, and Wendy was hoping to find out from you. Do you know any Montessori resources here in Las Vegas that are not hugely expensive? Or where she was in Maryland, they had Montessori programs offered by public assistance. So
Wow.
yeah,
No,
she was
I
so happy about that.
don't know. Um, I don't know. I gave
Any schools here?
I gave a workshop at a Montessori school in Henderson. And I did actually go back and do a demonstration for one of the teachers. But that's the only connection at this point. So I couldn't even say, but like our school, I got state funding for that. And it's still going, the state funding, so that people could participate without having any money to put into it. So that was good.
Is that for the workshop? For the
Oh
training
no, that
workshop?
was the Montessori school in California. But they
Okay.
may have something like that here in Nevada that I don't know
Or
about.
even you can maybe we could apply for it if Onka was interested in that.
Uh-huh.
But you know, we'll
yeah, the
see.
charter school system here.
Right.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Do you know if Nevada has any kind of preschool part of the charter school system? Leslie?
I really don't know. You could get in touch with Patrick Hickey, see what's going on.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. Maybe Wendy's a good. Well, Onka herself could connect with Patrick
Yeah.
about
If-
that. Little Riona is 4 years old now,
Mm.
and she's in a regular preschool, but they're really wishing that there was a Montessori around.
Yeah, my boys really enjoyed Montessori, and they were young.
Oh, nice.
It's in
Yeah.
Alabama, and the next town over
Oh,
there was a mom, and she just she was a Montessori teacher, and she had some kind of building across from her house, and she had us all go over there, so that was fun.
Wow,
nice.
nice.
Yeah. I always volunteered. My younger stepbrother was in a Montessori school, and both my mom and stepdad were teachers, so they had to stay till like 5 o'clock for meetings. And I was in mid-high, I was ninth grade. And so I'd walk over to the Montessori school where my little brother was, and I'd just volunteer for 2 hours most days of the week. So that was that, and then they'd take me on their camping trips with them and stuff, and I would help out and stuff. So that was nice, kind of learning to be an aide.
We haven't heard it much from Barda. She's
I
been,
know, I was noticing,
I was just
thinking
lying.
the same
Just
You know,
thing.
thinking
you
of
guys
that.
have been chatting, so, you know,
she must
I
have
did.
experience.
Yeah, Sarah, you may not know, but Barda unschooled all her kids and figured out she spent 26 years altogether in an unschooling situation. And she gave us a little bit of stories last time.
And yeah, so I did that for 26 years, and then I started working in the school system, first in food service, and then for the last 3 years as a para, specifically a special needs para. But with this pandemic, I've been working with a biology teacher, trying to get teenagers that didn't want to be in school anyway to do work online.
Oh, wow.
Oh, challenging.
So it's very interesting to see how broken the system is.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like I knew it was
Appreciate
broken.
that.
I knew it was, but to actually see that it is, you know.
Yeah, I noticed, well, when the most glaring situation that I was in was one day I substituted in a kindergarten, and they were supposed to do whatever the teacher, whatever worksheets or whatever the teacher left. And to see, because this was my group, I related to so many of children this age, and to see how ridiculous it was to be set up that there is this one lesson and everybody gets it the same way, and either you do it or you don't, and it made no sense at all, not at all. It gets more covered up with the older kids, but it's there.
Yeah,
it's there.
not much to do with trust one way or the other.
What?
Not much to do with trust one way or the other.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Oh, well,
That's
I called a couple of the kids that I work with. Well, because about a month ago, our principal said, now I want everybody to stop calling the parents and the kids because they're getting like 7 or 8 calls a day. And I thought, wow, okay, how am I supposed to? And then it dawned on me, well, I'm calling all these kids on their cell phones anyway, so I'll just send them a daily text. And so this one kid said, oh yeah, I will work with you on such and such a day at 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock came and went that day. And I sent him a text and I said, you gave me your word. You said 2 o'clock on this day and you gave me your word and it's broken now. And by God, he got back to me and he said, okay, let's do it. Wow. I don't think anybody really says to these kids, no, you gave me your word. You turn in your homework or whatever it is, But it blew me away that it actually worked, But then I see these kids differently than their teachers see them. I look at them as people, just as equal as I am. Like I don't expect them, and I don't want them to call me Mrs. Allen because Mrs. Allen was my mother's name. And even though she's been gone and buried for like 9 years, she was Mrs. Allen. And I connect with kids as equal to me. And so if I'm going to call them by their first name, then they can call me by my first name.
Hmm.
You know, it's still
Right.
respecting. You know, I'm respecting them and they're respecting me. They don't need to call me. I mean, some of them, you know, they can't even call me Barda. They'll call me Mrs. Barda or Miss Barda. It's like, well, okay, but you know.
Yeah. They
So,
called me Karen, the little ones.
yeah.
Yeah. Because that's
Yeah.
just how we did it. So I didn't.
Barda,
Yes. Go ahead.
I taught school in Brazil for about 15 years, and yeah, they call each other aunties, you know, tia or
Oh, okay.
professora, professor or tia. But I think when you talked to that student and you said, you know, you gave me your word, I think it was probably pretty shocking for him, like edifying that his word had meaning.
Ah,
That
right.
people
Well
thought that
thought.
that means something. You know, I value what you say.
Right.
You know,
I trusted you.
yeah,
Wow.
it's very
Nice.
edifying that somebody's
Right.
actually paying attention. Well, really? You mean, huh? Interesting.
Well,
I made a commitment, but I was important enough for you not to forget about me, kind of thing.
Right.
very
Yeah.
nice. Yes.
So,
Yeah.
you know, because
I
granted these teachers, you know, they've been teaching for umpteen years, right? And so every kid just sort of becomes the same as the next kid,
Hmm.
you know. And that becomes especially true if you've worked with, if they've had whatever kid for like 4 years and then they get that sibling of that kid. And then they react to the sibling the same way that they did to the previous kid when they're totally separate children.
right.
So, and
Well,
that starts when they're kindergartners
yeah.
in the public school. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
We're gonna have to close for today.
We're going to have to take this up next week, Karen.
All right.
Right.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay. Good topic.
Great,
Thank you.
great.
Okay. Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
Karen.
much for being here.
Thank you
Really
all
enjoyed it.
here.
Okay. And I'll
Okay.
see you next time. Okay. Next week. for
Great.
sure.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
All right.
All right.
Okay.